Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay, you guys. So I'm pretty sure that I've read from this before, and I do actually like a lot of what the author's talking about. Excuse me. So we're going to cover a typical week from an ex-cadet org member. I'm going to do a little cross-referencing to statutes. I don't know the numbers in my head, but anyhow, here we go. Scientology, the Apollo series, dated Monday, 10 September 2012. Scientology's Sea Org kids. You know, the ones that don't exist, right? Janet Reitman's Inside Scientology says COS disbanded the cadet org. Well, that's entertaining. Ex-members say it never went away. Facts. One thing is for sure. There are kids running around flag in distinctive clothing with Sea Org members. Yeah, and their parents are all about it. Parents are all about the abuse the children get. First two clips filmed in the afternoon of Tuesday, May 22nd, 2012. Last two clips filmed Friday morning, May 25th, 2012, around 9 a.m. Here's a breakdown of a typical week from an ex-cadet org member with minor editing. We'd wake up around 6:30 a.m. on Mondays through Fridays. We had exactly half an hour to clean up the room, and a higher rank cadet, security guard, also known as a child, or Atalia herself, would check the rooms up before we could go to breakfast. We had breakfast for half an hour. I'd like to know what they're eating too. Until 7:30, when we had to clean up. We'd get assigned places to clean. Isn't that a great childhood, you guys? Some would get kitchen, dining room, bathrooms, yard, pool cleaning, laundry cleaning. Told you, the children are the maid staff, you guys. Isn't that wonderful? For the prestigious executives, getting the course rooms ready, etc. Then we had school from 8 a.m. till 11 a.m. So that's 3 hours. When we had break, we'd go up to the kitchen and snack. Something for free, or otherwise had the canteen, where we could buy a snack. Isn't that great, you guys? No parents anywhere to be found. Everybody's got excuses. All sugarless, though. We could only have sugar from Friday night to Saturday night. 11:15, back to school until 1300 for lunch, which was a half an hour as well. Then we had to clean up till 1400, where we'd go into the cadet room, sort of like an empty carpeted enclosed place, where we'd do drilling, such as naval marching techniques and briefing. Kind of like the training you see in Army movies. At 14:30, the bus would come and pick us up to go to the base. That's what we call the area of the FHCB coachman, etc. And do office work such as stuffing envelopes, organizing paychecks, working at the place where they print the policies. There's evidence of child labor right here. It's called Mimeo, and it's placed right up the street from the CB, like a block and a half or so, etc. In earlier days, we were only allowed to go to the base on rare occasions. That's why you read stories where cadets didn't see their parents for weeks and even months. That's why you read stories where cadets didn't see their parents for weeks and even months. We get assigned worksheets for jobs on the QI, previous location of Cadet Org, no longer owned by COS, like painting, Department of Labor, cleaning warehouses, Department of Labor. I thought warehousing was not for children. Cleaning dorms, trimming plants, landscaping, stuff like that. All gardening and maintenance work. The going to base part started around 2003. We'd have dinner at 5 p.m. with our parents and at the base. This is, as I said, applied since 2003. Otherwise, we'd have dinner at 7 p.m. on the QI. Isn't that great? They have to wait till 7 p.m. to eat. We had school at night again from 7:30 to 9 p.m. This was different schoolwork because at night, we only did Scientology studies, courses from Delphi, True School, LRH courses, etc. Also, SO, like Sea Org, courses like etiquette, grooming, cleaning, etc. You imagine that these parents are paying money for these ignoramus classes for their children? It's just, I mean, imagine that LRH talking about grooming. We then have half an hour to get ready for bed and lights off at 10 o'clock. Well, right there, that just broke all kinds of Department of Education policies and laws. It also broke a lot of Department of Labor laws. What else? Not to mention the child abuse. On Saturdays, we had a similar arrangement as the normal SO staff. We'd have a day off every 2 weeks. Imagine these children are working like this. If we had our stats up, wow. Hopefully it was the same day as our parents' Libs Day, so we could spend the day with them. It almost never happened, though. That's that isolation. But the parents, like Serge Domar says, they're all signing off on it. I wish an MNFer would. The kids that didn't have the day off would stay at the QI, have assignments throughout the day, and on the afternoons they'd have to white glove their rooms, meaning we had to clean from top to bottom and leave it so clean a white glove would be passed around and not get a single stain. Saturday night was movie night for the cadets that weren't grounded for the stat down. It was also hamburger and hot dog day, sugar day and video game day. I want to know who was overseeing them during all this. It was sort of like a day a week of being almost a normal kid. Sundays were no different from Saturdays, except for the white glove part. I'm going to go to those links later. Human rights for all. Okay. Infiltrated. That's okay. Scientology thinks they're doing something. Aaron Saxton speaks. An increasing number of media outlets have been in touch with myself and others regarding the status of children in the Sea Organization and their treatment. I do think a lot of media outlets were trying to help, but the media outlets couldn't do it themselves. Everyone's complicit in all this. I think finally the right chord is being hit with the public, as it is hard to defend the idiocracy of grown adults, at least physically anyways. However, children are another matter. One aspect that is hard to communicate and have understood by the media outlets is the amount of information and behavioral control that is exerted on the children. In a modern age, it is hard to stress the point that what is in the news, the papers, and the internet does not exist if the person has no access to such information freely. That's the BITE model: behavioral control, information control, thought control, and what's the E? I can't remember what the E is. Essentially, one has to communicate a Jonestown sort of scenario to the media for them to start to comprehend the situation. They're getting paid off. In almost any society, the treatment of children is considered paramount, and transgressions against children are often the most severely punished acts. I believe Marty's lack of stance or understanding of what we did as Sea Org members to destroy the children is very clear evidence that most who are still in Scientology frame of mind really do not grasp the consequences of their actions. I believe a lot of the people this person's talking about are more power hungry, more narcissistic in nature. They don't care. Is there a single person who would allow Marty Rathburn to parent their children? Yeah, go read Jenna Miscavige's book. I can't think of the name right now. The locking up of children and the controlling of their thoughts and actions should be at the forefront of the attack against the Sea Organization and Scientology. Any ex-Sea Org member who cannot understand the devastation we cause within the Sea of S need to sit down and really come to grips with what we expose those children to. It's called denial. And how many of them could never recover from literally having their minds changed to a minority group that has little chance of real social integration and the disability that we provided to them. What we did was horrible. How we barred parents from seeing their kids must really be viewed for what it was: barring children from seeing their parents. How we shoved Scientology down their throat should not be seen as preparing them for the new world of Scientology, but really as giving them no education and scaring them into believing any other choice than Scientology or the Sea Organization was a guaranteed way to lose their family. When we dismissed SO members, we often looked at it as a weapon to force the parents into line. What were the kids going through? Imagine being a child and seeing the consequence of your mother defying the great Ron Hubbard ideas. Imagine as a child knowing that by defying an idea, you could lose the only thing that meant much to you, your parents. We, as with fascism, transplanted the inherent truth that friends and family were paramount with the idea that total submission to an idea was senior. And in doing so, created children who could only treat their parents as objects, a book or their parents, and we crushed them until the book was won over. It is no surprise ex-SO members now feel the greatest pain of losing their children. But the real pain is when they realize that the training and brainwashing was successful on their children. And that to them, their ghost for the parents, if they love them at all. Love means above anything else, and from such a young age, we all taught them that this folly was for the weak. All Scientologists, and especially the celebrities, have crimes against those children by inaction and through financial support of the creation of brainwashing centers for those kids. Those slaves at the int base that serve Tom Cruise and John Travolta were mostly children a decade ago, and all senior Scientologists and celebs jolly well knew what those children were being subjected to. To now look at a young man or woman in the Sea Org and say they have a choice is folly, as they never knew they had a choice, and to offer them one now is to condemn them to punishment and self-abasement in line with their teachings. Why are we not protesting outside of Tom Cruise and John Travolta's house about the financial support they gave to an organization that knowingly destroyed the lives, and still does, of so many children? How can we not hold them as accountable as we could any group in the world that creates camps for children? Tom and John have their fleet of slaves, and they should be targeted ruthlessly for clearly providing the majority of the financial and public support for a religion that hides child abuse right here in America. It's time to go after the real benefactors of the religion, those at the top with the greatest gain, slaves and money, funneled offshore for them to collect in their private jets. They sicken me. In summary, the children were weaponized. We were used to control adults and our parents, to keep them in line. The greatest weapon used against critics is their children. It is low, it is effective, and should be the concern of government agencies to walk in there and get those children out. It should be the point to pursue government for their failure to protect society's greatest assets, the children. Talk children, and let's make the world understand what the Sea Organization does to them. I was weaponized against my own family, and I did the same thing to other children over and over again, many of which have never left the cult and no longer communicate with their family. I am reminded of Virginia Stewart in Australia, who thinks rationally and clearly that her own father is an enemy of the church. I think of my half-brother's father, Otto Roos, who was an enemy of the church, and how we were all used as weapons against our own family. Is there any Scientologist reading this who can in her own mind justify such horrific actions? Even DM was a child once, weaponized, and now has turned on his own family, as did LRH against his own children and wife. I cannot think of a more sicker cult than the one that does such things to children. A child who can rattle off the code of a Sea Org member and who yet can't recite a list of toys, movies, or games they like to play. Readers feel sick in their stomach. Ex-SO members should hang their heads in shame at what we knew we were doing. And the protest movement should go after Scientology for the real crime against society, weaponizing children for their own purpose. Aaron Saxton. That's really well done. Let me see what this is. What's this here? LRH. One often wonders why people are so reasonable about intolerable and illogical situations. The answer is very simple. They cannot recognize out points when they see them. And so try to make everything seem logical. The ability to actually see an out point for what it is, in itself is an ability to attain some peace of mind. The human reaction is to react to an out point, and then get reasonable and adopt some explanation for it, usually untrue. You can safely say that being reasonable is a symptom of being unable to recognize out points for what they are and use them to discover actual situations. HCO PL 30 September 1973, Issue 2 Data Series 30, Situation Finding Management Series, Volume 1, page 128. Okay, I'm going to check these links out, guys. Scientology's own websites on raising children. I'm going to check that out. You guys know you'll need a barf bag for that. Child abuse. What else? What is the other one? Let's see what this is. Children are heard at Issues Forum. Get them while they're young. This should be great. I don't think I'm going to go through all of them. I just wanted to see what they had here. You guys can go check them out. Isn't this great, you guys? Just what a little 3-year-old blonde girl should be doing when she's 3 years old, right? Always worried about the drugs and all the abuse that they put these children through. I might go through those, but I might be snapping, so I might not want to do it. What is this here? Well, anyways, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I will leave a link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Otherwise, have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Peace. Sharon Stainforth.